Hello guys, welcome to the new video. This video is about some cool tricks in the Python where everybody who is a beginner or who is very experienced in Python or who uses Python as his main language should know these tricks. And apart from that, we have some bonus Easter eggs in Python which we're going to discuss in this video. So if you're someone who uses Python regularly, then you must watch this video and let me know how many tricks you know already, or if you know something, if you have learned something new from this video, show that in the comment box below. Then let's start the video right now. So let's start with some of the cool tricks which I'm going to share with you. So, so the first thing is how to do a swapping of two numbers. See, if you're someone coming from a background of C or C++, then you might be doing something like creating a temporary variable and without temporary variable something like C is equal to A is equal to A plus B. But coming to Python, it's very simple to swap two numbers. Let's say you have two numbers called A is equal to 2 and B is equal to 20. And if you want to swap to these numbers, then you can just perform this single line. So you can say AB is equal to BA, and let me just print those values to you so that you can understand whether it works or not. So before swapping and after swapping A comma B. So let me just print the output. You can see that the A and B are swapped. So coming to the next step is how to return multiple values from a function. So and again we can return multiple values from the function in the form of any data structure like array or vector, etc. But even without that, we can return multiple values from the function in Python. Let me give an example here. Let's say I created a function. No, it's not going to take any output, but it says print called, just to say called, and it's going to return something like, it returns 1 2 3. So it's returning three arguments here, right? It is returning three variables. So we can receive this three arguments in Python. You can also do something like this: f is equal to function. Then see, by default these three values are returned to L in the form of a tuple. Let me show you what it is. If I print L, if I print L, so you can see the output is something like a tuple of 1 2 3. And if you also check with the type of L, it says tuple. You can see the function is called and the class is tuple. So by this way you can return multiple values, and apart from that you can also use this notation a comma c. So since we are returning three values, we can accept three values as well. So if we again do a comma b comma c, so they will get their respective values, like a gets 1, b gets 2, c gets 3. So this is one way in which you can use multiple values returning from a function in Python. Okay, coming to the next tip or next trick, that is the chaining of comparison operators. Okay, so this is something new, and I'm sure some of you are not aware of this. See, let's start. What is a comparison operator? Comparison operators are greater than, less than, greater than, equal to, etc. So in Python, we can chain multiple comparator operators. So what does I mean by chaining? Okay, let's take a simple example. Let's say if a person got marks of 70, and if you want to know what grade he got, so the school has system like the person who is getting marks greater than 69 and less than 79, they get a grade of let's say B. They get a grade of B. So if you want to know whether he got a B grade or not, you can simply say B grade is equal to, and we say something like this: the margin is 69, less than, marks less than 79. So if you print B grade, it's gonna be a boolean. So it says true. So what's happened here? So Python has automatically recognized the chaining of comparison operators, and it made comparisons with both. So it checked for 16 greater than, marks is greater than 69 or not, and also whether it is less than 79. So if you have to do the same thing in other languages like C, C++, etc., then you have to do something like this, 69 less than marks, and instead of chaining you have to perform AND operation, and marks less than 79. So by using chaining functionality in Python, you can do that in a single step. So that is a chaining of operators. And coming to the next step is reversing a string in Python. So how do we reverse a string in Python or any other language? So there are multiple ways of doing that. No, some might say that I will use a stack and I will insert all elements into the stack, and while returning out, I'm only adding that. You can do multiple ways, but in Python there is an elegant way of doing that. For that, in order to understand that, you need to know what is slicing. So okay, we use something called as slicing or square brackets, and using that we can do the slicing. And generally this has two attributes. One is the start, stop, and we also have something called as step. So the step is an additional no it's an optional value. And what is this slicing and where do we use? See, we can use slicing for almost all the iterables like tuple or a string, or even for lists. We can no do slices on this list, and we can do that. So let me give you a simple example of that here. Let's say I have a string which is called as a b c d e or a b c s s, and using the slicing, if I call what is 0, then it says a, and if I call 2, it says c. And this is slicing with only one index. And if you if you give a start and stop like this using a single semicolon operator, and let's say if I say 0 to 3 or 0 to 4, so starting with the index 0, it's gonna go till 3. So one thing you have to keep in mind in Python is like most of the ranges are to n minus 1. If you are let's say if you are defining a range of 0 to n, then it's going to go to 0 to n minus 1. So same thing here, if you say 0 to 4, it's going to go to the index 0 to 3, and it's going to return all the 4 letters, because 0 to 3 is 4. And so now how are we reversing a number? So I said there is also other parameter, right, which is called as step. So step is nothing but what is a jump. Let's say if you do not provide anything, the default step is 1, but if I provide 2, then it's going to jump instead of a and b, it's going to jump 2 letters. So it's going to go jump from a to c, and since the next jump is out of the bound, so it's going to return till ac. So using this thing, we can reverse a string by using a single line of statement, that is a string is equal to string. So we're going to say, so we are going to keep this start and stop empty. That means we are we're taking entire string and we're giving a step as -1. So if you now print the string, so it's going to be a reverse of the string. So that's it. It's very elegant way of doing this, and this thing works for almost everything. Let's say if you have a tuple 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4, and if you print tuple of -1, it's gonna do the same thing. It's gonna reverse the tuple, and the same thing with the list of 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4. And if you print a list of -1, it's going to do the same thing. It's going to print a reverse of the list. So always try to use this slice operator or slice functionality. It's going to be very useful and handy in solving palindrome, or there are many problems which take the advantage of this slicing. So the next trick is working with multiple line strings. So what do I mean by multiple line strings? Let's say you have a variable and you want to store a multiple line. That is, this is a line, and in the second line you say this is an the other line. And in this case, if you try and print a, then you can see that you will get an error. No, it says clearly says that it is a line and you have an end of line while scanning the string literal. So it's not taking everything as a single string. So in order to overcome that, we use escape character backslash, and we if you print the line, then you can see that it's reading entire multiple lines, but it's not reading as a new line. So if it reads a new line, you have to see something called as a backslash n, new line. So if you want the formatting has to be there, and you have to know whether it is a new line or not, then use a triple quotes. And once if you use a triple quotes, then whatever you write is automatically in a new line, the other line. And now if you print, you can see that everything is in the new line. So this is one trick where you can use multiple line strings. And coming to the next string is simplify if statement. And I also think that some of you might not know this trick, so it would be useful if you get used to this statement, simple if statement. So what do I mean by simple if statement? So how do we write a normal if? Let's say I want to see whether if a is equal to 2 or not. I say something like if a double equals 2, then print 2, else I say print not 2. So this, it's true because it's very simple. A is 2, so it is true and it prints this. So instead of writing this in a traditional manner, in Python we can use a simplify if statement. So if you want to compare this thing, you can say something like print 2 or print 2, and if a double equal to 2, else print not 2. So this is a simplified if statement. You can see the result is same here. And not only that, we can also do assignments. Let's say if I want to assign, if a is equal to 2, then I want to assign it to 20. I'll say a is equal to 20 if a is equal to 2, else I only say 30. And I'm not saying a is equal to 30, I'm saying only 30. Now if you print a, then you have to see that a has to be assigned to 20 because a is 2, right? Let me see that. Just where it's a very different kind of if else statement, where here here you do one thing or here you do another thing, and the statement or the condition is in the middle. So this is similar to a conditional operator which you use in C++ or C. So that is that. And you also know that here we gave a is equal to 20, but here we only give 30 because Python already knows that we're trying to do the assignment. So let's try other case also. Let's say a is equal to 22. Now the else has to be executed, so the answer should be 30. Exactly. So this is something which you can use, and you might also see quotes online or quotes of web professionals. They use this kind of statements, and they use everything right in a single line. So there is nothing complex in it. So you have to know these simple tricks. So that is how to use a simple five statement. And the next trick is create a dictionary from two related sequences. See, if you attend online contest, you can see there are multiple questions where you will be given two arrays, and they are related in some way, and you have to calculate something. Let me just explain with some example. Let's say in a contest, they give something like items is equal to something, and prices is equal to something, and the user has bought or made a shopping of multiple items, and the program asks you to calculate what is the its shopping total. So let's say this is one kind of no problem statement, and the input is something like this. Let's say the item is pen, add some more items like a, some items b, and something like this, and the respective prices are like this: 20, 40, 23, 45, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4. That's okay. So we have four items, four prices, and they ask some of the queries like he bought pen and two quantity, and he says he bought a 10 quantity, and in the end you have to print what is the total price. So if you are in this situation, so this situation where you can use dictionary, now you can create dictionary of these two items in order to perform the this task easily. So how do you do that? So other than dictionary, what are the ways? So well, let's understand what are the ways we can do without using dictionary. Then we can understand what is advantage of using dictionary here. See, one thing, let's say the user buys two pens, then the basic approach that we have to do is you have to search for pen in the items and get its index, and look for that index in prices, get the value, multiply it with quantity, then add this quantity to the sum, and output the final sum. And but what if there are, let's say, million items, and million prices? So in that case, if you are searching for pen each time, then you are performing big of n operation. And if you are performing if you have n items, then it's simply n square algorithm, and in the most of the case that won't work in competitive coding. So in that case, we are going to use dictionary which are similar to maps in C++. So if you know maps, then you are very familiar with what we are doing right now. So how can we create the dictionary of that? Let's say I create a dictionary called as lookup. And see, in Python, dictionary is a data structure which has a no key, and it has some value. Okay, so we are going to create a dictionary where a key is so the key is item, or item, which item that user bought, and price is prices, and we want this to be performed for entire items. So I say for I in range of length of items. So we are iterating through the length of items, and I ranges from all the indexes of items. Let's say I say items of I, items of prices of I. So what I'm doing here, so I'm creating a lookup dictionary where I'm inserting all the elements, all the items from the items list as a key, and prices as a value. So now if you print lookup, you can see that, oh, okay, I need to comment out this. Let me delete this white space here. And now if I run this item, sorry, it has to be items, prices, length of items. Okay, now it should work. Yes, finally we got that to work. Now you can see that the lookup dictionary has no all the items as keys, and the prices as values. Now if someone asks you to know what is the price of FDS, you can say, you can look up in the lookup dictionary, lookup of, I say, FDS. No, that's very simple. If you do that, then you get the price. No, by creating the dictionary, you made the complexity of finding the price as big of one, because the dictionary you can directly access the value. No, it only big of one, whereas searching for this thing is a big of n. So by this way, we can create a dictionary from two related sequences, and this is very useful for DP programs. And there are many problems which take the advantage of dictionaries. So try to use this line of no code in order to create dictionaries. So the next trick is use of join functions. See, join functions are very useful when you are working with strings, and if you want to create a strings from any iterables, then you can use join function and create the string in a simple single line of code. Let's say if I have something like a list of numbers, say 1 comma, I'm going to insert some random numbers. Now what if I want to join these things and create a new string? Then I say answer, and I will initiate with a empty string, and I say answer dot join of. So join, if you look into a documentation of join, it takes an iterable can be anything, or a list, or a string, or what do you say, a tuple, etc. So what I say is like, I'm taking the join and calling it on answer, and joining everything from the list. Now if you print answer, then it says an error, because the join expects the iterables to have strings. So in order to overcome that, we can say something like this: join of I for I, join of I for I in L, and we can simply say str. So now whatever present in L are considered as a string. Let me assign it. Answer is equal to answer dot join of. That's it. Now we got 1 2 1 4 5 4 6 4 5 4 6 5 etc. So by this way you can create strings from iterable objects. You can also try with common strings like a and e and I etc. And if I simply say join of L, now the answer is completely different. We don't need to use a string anymore. We all directly got AEI. So the next trick that we are going to learn is formatted output. So now what do I mean by formatted output? See, if you're writing any online contest, so the many times you see that output is not a single number or single digit. So this is, let's say, let us assume a single simple problem like they ask for a input of number n and we have to print square of its number. So the output is not straightforward and they ask it in some way like they say to print the output in this form. Square of 4 is 16, so they want you to print the output in this form. Okay, so many times we make error with no extra spacing or any other kind of stuff, and for that in Python there's a simple way of doing that. So let's take this example only. Let's say if we want to print square root of a number in this format, then what I'm going to do, let's say I have taken the input n is equal to 4 and I'm going to use, observe carefully, I'm going to copy whatever format output is there and I'm going to give here, and I say something like dot format. And since we have to format these two things, instead of 4 we want to use what the number that was inputted, so I say n, and instead of 16 I want the answer, that is in their case that is the square of a number. So in Python calculating square is as simple as this, double star 2. So now remove this 4, that is answer, and now if you print, you can see we got output in the same format. This is something like in C or C++ we use percentile d as to printf, the same thing here, but in the Python we can do it more flexibly by calling dot format. As we have done with the important tricks, now it's time for some bonus tips or bonus tricks, and these are nothing but some Easter eggs in Python which I have seen from online or some other places or some other documentations etc. So what is meant by Easter egg? Easter egg is nothing but something which is hidden and which cannot be found by everyone. So there are some Easter eggs in Python which are very funny, and let's start with a few. And for that, see, what is the first program we write in any programming language? That is hello, right? So we can create a hello world output by simply calling import hello. Cool, right? Because if you import the hello, then you can automatically get hello world. So this is one of the Easter egg in Python. And apart from that, there is other thing called as import this. So what this is going to do? See, the output would be something amazing and something very different that you can never imagine. So the output is nothing but it is called as Zen of Python. I think it won't work in IDEs. Let me open up my command prompt. So if I go for Python, so yeah, you can see that I am in Python 3, and if I import this, you can see the Zen of Python. So what is Zen of Python? So these are nothing but some of the core principles that Python developers kept in their mind while building the Python. So they say that there are 20 principles in Zen of Python, but you can see there are only 19 here. So they might update the 20th one soon or in the future. So you can see what are the principles, right? So beautiful is better than ugly. So they wanted to keep the Python very beautiful, and explicit is better than implicit. So they want us to do anything explicitly, and simple is better than complex, and complex is better than complicated, flat is better than nested. So you can go through that. These are principles which Python is built upon. And it also one thing very funny, that is if you import something like anti-gravity. If you import anti-gravity, then it automatically opens a web browser and it shows a meme here. No, it's a page full of meme. You can go for next and etc. So so that is that. So you can understand that Python is even funny, and this is some of the meme, or what you say, some illustration like that. Okay. And some of the other Easter eggs are, if you try to print the hash value of let's say infinity, 1 2 3, okay. Mm-hmm. One open, three open, okay. So here is it. So yeah, if you print the hash value of float, then it is 3.1419. Does it look similar to you? Yes, it is the value of pi, no, first two digits of pi. And if you do the same thing with negative infinity, then that's going to be negative pi. Not exactly pi, the digits of pi. And if you do the same thing for not a number, then yes, obviously it's going to be 0. So these are some tricks. And there is also one more thing that I want to share, is okay, I will write a piece of code here, and try to guess the output, and let me know in the comments whether if you got it right or not. Let's say a is equal to 1 comma 2 comma something. Let's keep it simple. Let's say a is equal to 1 to 4 and b is equal to a. And now what I'm going to do is, like, I'm going to append a dot append append 2. So now I'm appending 2. Now if I print a and if I print b, so try to guess what is the output that is going to be displayed. And if you are somewhat a beginner, then or if you don't know much about lists, then you might say, like, the output would be 1234 and 123. But the actual output is 1234 and 1234. That is, both have the same answer. uh, but why is it happening? See, you might think that, okay, that should not happen, we are only appending something to the a. Then why is b getting updated, or why is 2 getting added to the b? See, this is because when you are creating a list, and with a, so you have created a list in the memory, and when you are saying something like b is equal to a, you are not creating a new list. You are just referring, or you are pointing to the same list by other variable b. So now both a and b are pointing to the same memory location, that is 134. So when you make updates, then the updates are made to the same memory location, and because both are referencing to the same memory, we see same list in both the cases. So basically we are not creating two lists, we are creating one list, and we are pointing two times to the same list in the form of a and b. So how do you get solve this, or how do you copy a list? So in order to copy a list in Python, there is a straightforward thing called as dot copy. So if you do dot copy, then the output would be what you expect: 1 2 1 3 4 2 and 1 3 4. And if you think, okay, how can I remember everything? There is also other way of doing that, which might be hard for someone, but it is very simple if you understand that. Let's say list with I, for I in a, or for I in a. So we're creating a list and inputting all the elements from a. So even this, we do the same thing. So if you're trying to copy one list into another variable, then try to use dot copy or this operation. But don't copy list by something like b is equal to a. And before ending of the video, there is one more cool Easter egg in Python, which you have to see that. So what is that? Okay, in Python we don't use braces, right? We use spaces instead of braces. So what happens if you import that? You know, I'm importing from the future. From future import braces. Then Python comes up with error saying that it's a very funny error. It says that not a chance. So Python is saying that we don't use braces. There's no chance of using braces. So this is one of the cool syntax error or cool what you can as a Easter egg in Python. But if you observe that they are saying not a chance, but we use braces in Python, right? So no, all these we use braces for lists and we use braces for no dot format. We use braces for dictionary, etc. But if you try and import braces module, they say that not a chance. They give a simple syntax error. So I hope this video is useful for you. You found some new tricks or you found something very new. And thanks for watching.